Hello art stars, welcome. Today we are going to be making some collage, a little bit like this. So before I go into that, what you're going to need is some paints. You've got some acrylic paints in your pack, I believe. So some acrylic paints or poster paints, some assorted brushes, preferably if you've got some different sizes, that's good. A jar or two of water or water container. If you've just got one, then just remember to swap the water as you go so the paint colour doesn't get changed. A piece of paper, cartridge paper, watercolour paper, whatever you've got, or cardboard. A pair of scissors. I'm going to use a glue stick. PVA glue works well too, or flour and water will work as well. The brush for sticking down, and just some old newspapers or magazines. So I've used a combination with my examples. I cut up some newspapers, and I had some really nice images from a jewellery magazine. I would say with magazines you get better image quality. With the newspapers, the images tend to be more faded, slightly pixelated. So it's nice if you've got both, and you can have the combination. Or like I say, if you've got some magazines, obviously just check with an adult in your house before you take anything and use it. And yeah, so basically I'd like you to, if you've got access to the internet, just to have a look at two artists' work. There's one called Hannah Hoch, and that's Hannah, Hoch, Hoch. She's a German artist, and she was creating art mainly in the 20s. Let's have a look at some of her work. So yeah, if you can have a look at home, and you'll get a clearer look at some of her works, and you can read a little bit about her life as well. So it's a lot of political statement pieces and pieces related to gender. And she used something called photo montage. It's a bit like collage, but she would have been using actual photographs and cutting them up and putting them together to create characters and images. And another artist I found is somebody called Bev Acton. So that's B-E-V Acton, A-C-T-O-N. And she's not as famous as Hannah Hoch. She's quite young. She's quite an emerging artist, so out of university just a few years ago. She does really, really beautiful collage pieces as well. So I think these wouldn't be from photographs. These would be pictures, vintage pictures, old pictures from newspapers, magazines, books, and I think she put them together on the computer. So really beautiful, really colourful, and quite what we call surreal. So displaced. They're not supposed to look realistic. So we might see someone with 3 eyes or a face covered in flowers, giant moons and stars. So like I say, you didn't get it's hard for you to get a really clear image from my laptop there. So if you can go online and have a look at those two before you start, that would be great, because that will give you some ideas. And I've made a few myself as well. So here's one I did. I was using mainly newspaper images for this. I couldn't find many free magazines, and like I say, the images are quite faded, the quality. So it's nice if you've got some magazine pictures too. And like I said, I took these out of a very nice catalogue I had, so I've got the combination of the two. And this one's quite, again, quite strange, quite surreal. So we've got like a clock for a face. I cut out lots of eyes and mouths and stick them over different people. And then I've done a bit of painting over the top. So we've got this peacock with looks like a beret on, and this person here painted over the top of her face and her hair. Gone over the background with acrylics and made some very kind of rough clouds, and we've got 2 cats there. It's like a mirror image of a cat, and one is painted over. So again, it's quite random, it's quite surreal, it's quite spontaneous, it's kind of evolved as it's moved, as it's gone on. Little flowers painted down here, and some of the pictures I've gone over with white, a thin layer of white acrylic. And it's quite interesting because people looking at it can then see the development and the changes as they occur. So this one's very busy. Like I said, it's quite a busy one. And this other one I've done, and I'm really happy with this one. This one's quite surreal as well. So it's very strange, very peculiar. Things are quite displaced, but it's very simplistic in comparison. So we've just got this it's a magpie's head stuck upside down with a different bird's eye over the top, painted a little bit of red on the cheek there, and then this was a picture of some jewellery in the middle, and then just some really large red petals around the outside, and a bit of detail, just a blue circle on the centre. So it's pretty simple, but I think visually it works really nicely. So you've got all this white space, this negative space. Remember we spoke about positive and negative space a few sessions back, and the eye just goes straight to the images. The colours are very bright, and like I say, it's not too busy, it's not too cluttered, whereas this image, just having a different effect, it is very busy, and there's a lot of places that your eyes go to. It's more of a story, and this one's more simplistic, but I think it works really nicely. And I just stuck this down. I was thinking, I've not had a chance to do this one yet, but I was thinking maybe you could use a pen and draw feathers around and make your own bird with that one. That would be quite interesting. So what I'd like you to do to start is get your newspaper or your magazines, whatever you've got at home. Like I say, just check with an adult that it's okay to use them. And spend a bit of time cutting out pictures. Don't think too much about what you want the end result to look like. Just cut out some pictures and spend about 20 minutes, half an hour at least doing it. Just anything you like. Be a bit of a magpie. Cut it out. I'm just going to move my camera down so you can see what I'm doing. So I've just got a few here. So this beetle I think is really beautiful. As the legs are very thin, I've left a bit of white around the outside so I don't cut into them by accident. So that's fine to do that. With thin lines, it's fine to leave a bit around the outside and not go right up to the edges. There's a skeleton. I've got some eyes, noses, mouths. These are really good to cut out if you can cut out some eyes of different sizes and different noses, different facial features, because it's quite interesting when we start to build up pictures with them and put them on top of one another. So I'm going to do mine in my sketchbook. And if you've got as well a piece of scrap paper like newspaper or just some paper to glue onto, so that your paper you're working onto doesn't get too tacky. And as well, I'm sure you all know how to cut. I'm just going to say, so we get a really good result. We want a really nice kind of sharp edge. Or if you've got any block shapes like that that aren't too thin, don't rush. Just really slowly and carefully guide your paper around the scissors and the shape that you're cutting out. Like I say, if it's a block shape, go right to the edges. Try to avoid any jagged edges. Take your time. There you go, so I've got that little clock there. And like I say, when you're cutting, don't think too much about what you're doing. So if you think, right, this is what I'm going to make, this is the image I've got in my head, this is what I'm looking for, it kind of holds you back a little bit. So you want to go in with a very open mind and see what you can do. So I'm going to start with my beetle here, and I want to, don't glue anything straight away, just have a play, think about where things are going to go. So I'm using a sketchbook. I'm going to put it over 2 pages, and I'm going to see how it looks with some eyes over the top. So like I say, things like eyes and facial features are really interesting to add on to things, and try lots of possibilities, try things different ways. Don't glue anything straight away because you might change your mind or a better possibility might come up. So let's see how the eyes are there. creepy, isn't it? Or do we like them here? Or we could even just have one eye in the middle. I quite like them here, like that. And things like the clock. Where's the clock going to go? Put that there. What if I move the beetle up a little bit? And then have the skeleton walking underneath. Well, I've got this man's head as well. Where could this be? So it's just be open to possibilities of where things could go. But you might decide to take a few things out and not put them on. There we go. And I think again, like with my other pictures, I'm going to keep this quite simplistic. So just a few images like that. And if you want to do a simplistic picture, so one without too much going on, quite minimal, quite minimalistic, you might want to just if you've got time and you enjoy it, do more than one. Like I say, you might want to do a really busy one. And the reason I said to use a piece of scrap paper or newspaper is because a lot of people, when they're gluing, they glue straight onto their picture, and then you get really tacky glue marks, which you don't want. So glue any scrap pieces face down onto the scrap paper. That way we avoid them. Go up to the edges, stick them down. All these separate parts. I'm going to go right up to the edges on all of the legs. And like I said, I'm using a glue stick. You can use PVA or flour and water, whatever you have. Like that. And my clock. I think I'm going to put this up here so he's kind of holding on to it. As it's quite a small piece, I'll just glue it this way. So go right to the edges with the glue. Take your time with your cutting. Go. Yeah, I think that looks quite cool actually. Very surreal. It works nicely, like I say, because you've got all of that white space around it, so we don't want to make it too cluttered. That works well as a composition because our eyes go straight to the main part, which is this beetle here. And then, yeah, if you want to get some paints, again, like I said, I want to keep this one quite minimalistic. So if, like me, you see a few really striking images you just want to put together, a few really striking pictures you cut out, it might be worth doing 2 or 3 of them. Or like I say, you might want to do a busier one, like my first one. Let's have a look at colours, I think I might just incorporate in a teeny tiny bit of yellow. So I'm just going to use some acrylic. And then just think about what you want to add on. So it could be you might want to colour in a little bit of the background, or you might want to paint over some of the pictures. With my first picture, I came up with some yellow clouds. I might do something like that, or just some patterns in the background. So I'll just hold my sketchbook up like this. Just using my acrylics. Obviously do yours flat. I think I'm just going to, I want to still leave some white negative space because like I say, it works really nicely on this picture, but I think I'll just add a few dabs of other colours in. Not completely filling it up. Water. Like I say, it can be quite surreal or quite abstract. It doesn't have to make sense or be logical. These are a bit like clouds. I've used some yellow. I'm going to use some purple, because purple and yellow are complementary colours, which means they look fantastic together. So I'm going to use a tiny bit of purple. I'm going to use a thin brush this time. And just, yeah, working quite spontaneously. I'm going to pop some little tiny lines going down, which look a bit like rain. And this is a really nice activity project, because I say, you know, when we're following step by step, we always get different outcomes, but with this especially, because everyone's going to have different images. Cool. A little rain cloud there. And then I think I'm going to overlap some of the yellow here, quite thick, and do some shapes, making a bit of a pattern. And you can paint over areas of your picture as well if you wish. Just work intuitively, so do what you think will look good. Try things out. There we go. And like I said, I'm going to leave that so it's quite minimal, so there's not too much going on there, and I'm quite pleased with that. So yeah, so like I say, check with one of the adults in your house, get out some old newspapers, magazines. If you've got a combination of both, that's amazing. Spend some time cutting out pictures. Don't necessarily have a clear picture in your head of how you want it to look. Just be open to possibilities and what you might find. Cut out any pictures or words that interest you. That's another thing. You can put words and letters on there too, which seem relevant. One thing I will recommend, like I say, is lots of eyes, facial features, noses, mouths. And if you stick any heads down or faces, then it looks really interesting if you put different eyes on top, and just really yeah, just really experiment. Don't glue anything down straight away. Normally when I do an actual class in this, I normally don't give out the glue sticks to about half an hour, 45 minutes in, because I really want people to think and play with their pictures and be open to new possibilities. So spend some time thinking about where you want things to go. Try everything different ways, different places, different positions. Like I say, take your time with cutting. With thin lines you can leave a bit around the edge, a bit of the background, or with block shapes try and go up to the edges. Just do it really slowly. Yeah, be open to possibilities, and like I say, take your time. It could be lovely and sort of surreal like this, so nonsensical, it doesn't make any sense, or it could be a scene that you put together where something's going on. But like I say, just be open to ideas. Just take your time, cut out different pictures, and basically, yeah, have a play before you stick down, and have an experiment. And I hope you've enjoyed this session, and I will see you all a bit later. I can't wait to see what you've come up with. Yeah, well done everyone. See you soon with your work.